Hello my dear students, welcome back to our English class. These days we are dealing with the Adventures of Toto for class 9, isn't it? And before going into the lesson, let's have a review about the last classes. And we have seen in the last two classes that this Adventure of Toto was written by Ruskin Bond, who was just talking about monkey which he bought from a Tonga driver for ₹5, isn't it? And also once he was taken this monkey to the home, we see that he was hidden because they doesn't wanted to show it to grandma, because grandma was against the idea of bringing new animals to the family. And when it was given, first it was given the room very near to the narrators. He played some prank and he started doing some mischiefs in a narrator's room. Then he was shifted to larger room where other animals were also kept. But he gave so much discomfort to the rest of the animals, so he was also taken from there. And it was time for Grandpa to go to Saharanpur as he was about to get his pension, isn't it? He thought of just taking Toto with him. And we see that in the last class we have seen that Toto was taken with Grandpa to Saharanpur as he was annoying other animals in the room, the servant's quarter. And we see that once he was taken in a black canvas bag in the railway station of Dehradun, he created a sort of just like spirit-like thing. He was rolling inside the bag and made a great amusement for the people who surrounded the Dehradun railway station, isn't it? And also we have seen that once they reached Saharanpur, Grandpa was made to pay ₹3 for Toto in the turnstile by the ticket counter. As Grandpa just shone his ticket. By the time who came outside, Toto came outside the bag and just smiled at the ticket counter. Ticket counter just assumes Toto in the category of dog. Grandpa was asked to pay a sum of ₹3 for this Toto. And by this we see that Grandpa becomes so angry and he was just showing a tortoise whether he need to pay for this animal also, isn't it? And the last line that we have seen in the last class here, we see that the ticket counter with a smile said that no charge because it's not a dog. I think up to there we completed, isn't it? And for today's portion, let's take very few paragraphs from Adventure of Toto. The next paragraph, you take your textbook and listen carefully. Here we see that when Toto was finally accepted by grandmother, he was given a comfortable home in the stable where he had for a company the family donkey Nana. On Toto's first night in the stable, grandfather paid him a visit to see if he was comfortable. To his surprise, he found Nana without apparent cause pulling at her halter and trying to keep her head as far as possible from a bundle of hay. So what happens here is, finally, last day we have seen that they are just hiding this Toto all these days, isn't it? Because they didn't say this to grandma. Now, after this incident, when grandpa came back from Saharanpur, we see that they might have intimated the presence of Toto in their home. To whom? To grandma. And finally, grandma came to know about whom? About a monkey, Toto, isn't it? And when Toto was finally accepted by grandmother, he was given a comfortable home in the stable. Stable is the place where horses were kept. Or the home of horse is called the stable. So, a new place was given for Toto. Where? With Nana. Nana is the family donkey. Family donkey. And we see that Toto was given this place. But what happens? Here we see that night also, the first night with Nana in the stable, grandpa wanted to know whether Toto was behaving nice, just like what he did. What is that? Actually, Toto was disturbing all the animals in the servants' quarters. So he wanted to see, grandpa wanted to check on Toto whether he is disturbing this Nana donkey also. So what happened? He came at night. At night, grandpa paid him visit to see if he was comfortable, if donkey was comfortable or Toto was comfortable. To his surprise, he found Nana without apparent cause pulling at her halter and trying to keep her head as far as possible from the bundle of hair. What happened? Here we see that this donkey was just pulling at her halter. Halter means a strap which was tied or a loop placed around the head of horse, okay, or other animals. Okay, stable is a place where horses are kept, and in this place, who is kept here? Donkey is kept here, okay. And anyhow, this donkey was just pulling out what his halter means, a strap which was just tied at the head of this animal. And what he was doing? And he was trying to keep her head as far as possible from the bundle of hay. Okay. So what happened? Nana was found restless here and she started pulling her robe in order to stay away from the hay. Actually, what was going on here? Toto was teasing Nana or playing tricks with Nana, and already we have seen that this Toto was disturbing this Nana. Okay, so Nana was trying to stay away from this Toto. Okay, so that's why it says trying to keep her head as far as possible from a bundle of hay. You know what is hay? Hay is the thing which was given to dry hay, which was given to a horse or donkey. Okay, so that was he was trying to stay away from there. Okay, so what happened? And the next paragraph says the grandfather gave Nana a slap across her haunches and she jerked back, dragging Toto with her. He had fastened on her long ears with his sharp teeth. So actually what this Toto was doing? Toto was just biting. Fastened here means what is that? He was just biting with his teeth onto whose ear? Nana's ear. Okay. So when grandfather gave a slap on Nana, grandfather didn't know that actually this Toto was biting on Nana's ear. So that's why this Nana was trying to stay away from the bundle of hay. Okay. So without knowing this, grandpa just gave him a slap. Gave her a slap. Slap means a beat. Okay. Grandpa beated this Nana and Nana jerked back. What is a jerk means? It's pulled back. Okay, Nana jumped back with a jolt, and who was also there? Toto was also dragged along with her. Why? Because Toto was just, had fastened his teeth onto Nana's ear. This Toto was biting onto Nana's ear. So when the donkey just jumped back, this monkey also moved along with this Nana. Okay, so from this we can understand this Toto and Nana never become friends. So it's impossible for this Toto to live with Nana also, because he is disturbing whom also? This donkey also. So never this Nana and Toto will become friends. This is the family donkey of our narrator, and when Toto was given a place in the stable along with Nana. We see that Nana couldn't sleep. Grandpa came and saw that this Nana was just trying to stay away from the bundle of hay. Then Grandpa just gave a slap on haunches. Haunches means back. Okay, the back of the donkey. When donkey jumped back, was also Toto was also dragged along with this Nana, because Toto was just biting or fastened his teeth onto Nana's ear, biting on Nana's ear. After that, we see that Toto and Nana will never become friends. Okay, then what happened? Here we see that next paragraph, a great treat for Toto during cold winter evenings was the large bowl of warm water given him by grandmother for his bath. He would continually test the temperature with his hand, then gradually step into bath, first one foot, then the other, as he had seen me doing, okay, until he was in the water up to his neck. Once comfortable, he would take the soap in his hands or feet and rub himself all over. When the water became cold, he would get out and run as quickly as he could to the kitchen fire in order to dry himself. If anyone laughed at him during this performance, Toto's feeling would be hurt and he would refuse to go on with his bath. One day, Toto nearly succeeded in boiling himself alive. So what happened in this paragraph? You see that special attention and care was given for whom? Given for Toto. Okay, so anyhow, every day great treat for Toto was given during which days? During winter days or winter or cold season. Okay, cold winter evenings. How? A large bowl of warm water was given during winter season for Toto to take bath. Okay. Then grandmother, a large bowl of warm water given him by grandmother for his bath. He would cunningly test the temperature with his hand. So what happened? When the bowl of warm water was given for him to bath, slowly and steadily this Toto would put his hands in order to test the temperature, whether it is suitable for him to take bath. Then what will he will do? Then gradually he would step into bath. First one foot, then the other. Okay, slowly. Just like the narrator, this Toto might have seen how narrator was just doing. Okay, just likewise, just copying, just like the narrator, how the narrator used to get into warm water. Just likewise, this Toto also first he checked the temperature of the water, whether it is comfortable for him to be in water. Then he put his leg, slowly he just sits inside the bowl for what? For bathing. Okay. Then finally he would sit inside the water with his face out. Okay, it was just a funny sight to see, isn't it? A monkey just sitting inside the bowl for taking bath. Then what he would do? Then he would rub himself with soap. Okay, and Toto might have seen how the narrator was doing. Okay, then how grandpa or grandma would soap all over his body. Okay, first 2-3 days he might have seen how it was done. Next day onwards he started doing himself. Okay, copying how others are doing. He's just put soap all over his body. Then we see that he would take the soap in his hands or feet and rub himself all over. When the water becomes cold, what he would do? He would jump out of the water. He always wanted warm water to keep himself warm. During which season? Winter season. It's winter season, isn't it? Winter season is cold season. It's all over cold outside. For us also, we prefer what? Hot water for bathing during this cold season. So here also this Toto was very cunningly putting himself in the warm water during cold season. Okay. And whenever the water becomes cold, he jump out of it. And after bathing, slowly he moves to which part? To the kitchen. Why? And he says that he would get out and run as quickly as he could to the kitchen fire. Immediately after coming out of the water, he just run towards which place? To the kitchen fire. For what? For warming himself, to keep himself warm. Okay, in order to dry himself and warm. If anyone laughed at him during this performance, Toto's feeling would be hurt and he would refuse to go on with his bath. One thing is there. What is that? If anyone looked at him and laughed at him, definitely he won't take bath. Okay? He'll be hurt. Okay? So it says that the narrator says that Toto got annoyed if he was laughed upon. He would get hurt and then he would refuse to take bath. So this is the procedure of Toto's bathing. He need a bowl of a large bowl of warm water during winter. He would sit inside the bowl. Then just like the narrator or grandpa or grandma, whoever, just soap all over his body. After 2-3 days, he started doing himself. Okay. Then when the water in the bowl becomes cold, what he would do? He jump out of the water and he runs to the kitchen in order to dry himself, in order to warm himself. In between this, incidents, if anyone looked at him and laughed, what he will do? He refused to take bath. Okay. So, this is the procedure of Toto's bathing. And the last line says that, one day, Toto nearly succeeded in boiling himself alive. So, okay, one incident happened that Toto found himself in boiling water. What was the incident? Let's see. Okay. A large kitchen kettle was being left on the fire to boil for tea, and Toto, finding himself with nothing better to do, decided to remove the lid. Finding the water just warm enough for a bath, he got in, with his head sticking out from the open kettle. This was just fine for a while, until the water began to boil. Toto then raised himself a little, but finding it cold outside, sat down again. He continued hopping up and down for some time until grandmother arrived and hauled him half boiled out of the kettle. So what happened here? So one day, this Toto is already, we know that Toto is a mischievous monkey, isn't it? So he doesn't have anything to do. He was just roaming all around, and on the while he happened to see a big kettle was kept on the stove. For what? For boiling water to prepare tea. And he doesn't know for actually what it was. So what happened? Slowly he took the lid of the, what is that, kettle. And he could see, he put his hands. And it was sure that, it's good, warm water enough for me to take bath. The next moment what he did. Okay, the next moment we see that Toto, okay, nothing to do. He finding the water just warm enough for a bath, he got it. As usual. What is that? What he would do when he sees warm water, he check the temperature. Here also, he took apart the lid. Lid means the cover of the kettle, the plate or the utensil that we use to cover. Isn't it? He took the lid and he checked the temperature. The temperature of the water is good enough for him to take bath. The next step is he just put himself. He jumped inside the kettle. By the time what was going on under the kettle? It was just, fire was going on. Slowly, the kettle was getting heated up and the water began to boil. When he started experiencing, heat, heat, he just raised his head. When he came out of the kettle, it was cold outside because what is the season here now? It's winter season. So what happened? When he was about to hop up, it was cold outside. Then again he used to sit inside the kettle. So he started doing this he repeated this for some time. Toto then raised himself a little, finding it cold outside. When he comes a bit out, it was cold outside. So in order to warm himself, he sits inside. Okay? And he continued hopping. Hopping means jumping up and down or coming up and down. Okay? Coming up and down in a while in order to save himself from the heat of the water. Okay? But when he seems that it's cold outside, he sits inside the kettle. Okay. As he was doing likewise, who came there? Okay. He was doing this for some time until the last line says that until grandmother arrived and hauled him half boiled out of the water. By the time who came there? Grandma reached on time and she saw that this Toto was a small monkey, isn't it? Already we have seen that it's a small monkey. So he was inside the kettle. Immediately, grandma just took this Toto out of the kettle and saved him. By the time here it says that half boiled because the water was heat, isn't it? The water was hot and he was getting boiled little by little. Anyhow, we see that grandma came on time and could save Toto from being boiled. Anyhow, this is one incident that Toto boiled himself in the tea kettle, isn't it? He thought that it's good warm water outside. It was just cold. He could warm himself, and by the time grandma arrived and hauled him means pulled him out of the kettle and saved him. Okay, coming to the next paragraph. If there is a part of the brain especially devoted to mischief, that part was largely developed in Toto. He was always tearing things to pieces. Whenever one of my aunts came near him, he made every effort to get hold of her dress and tear a hole in it. Okay, so now in this paragraph, what we are saying here is the narrator says that this Toto always, each and every moment of his life, he was doing some other deed of mischief. And he is wondering, a narrator is wondering, if there is a part in the brain specially devoted to mischief, that part was largely developed in whom? Toto. Okay, so here he was just thinking whether the whole brain of Toto is just filled with some sort of mischievous attitudes. So whenever he just goes somewhere, whatever he picks, he creates a mess. Okay, so that's what it says that. And here it says that if there is a part in our brain that governs the ability to create mischiefs, definitely this Toto will be having a larger part of such thing to do a lot of mischief. He had a great capability of doing mischief. One example is given here. What is one example? Here it says that he always engaged in tearing things into pieces. Already we have seen what is the first thing that he had done while he was taken to the home first. When he was given a small room or closet near to the narrator, he plucked out or he removed what? The wallpaper. Then he cut the blazer of the narrator, isn't it, which he used in his school days. And there also we have seen that he did the very same thing. Then he just, because of his jumping and running all over, his hook was just pulled out from the peg. And now here we see that the narrator says that whenever he gets time, he does some sort of mess there, here and there. He was always tearing things into pieces, cutting everything into pieces. Especially whenever one of my aunts came near him, he made every effort to get hold of a dress and tear her all in it. And one thing that it says that one of the aunt of narrator, whenever she comes there, this Toto managed to, tear at least one hole in her dress. He made it a practice. Toto made it a practice to see that all the things in the house was, torn up, or just to tear it into pieces. Whatever may be, whether that be the wallpaper, whether that be the curtain, whether that be the dress of someone, and whether that be anything that he sees all around. And also we see that when he was allowed to stay with Nana, the family doggy, he was just fastened. Fastened means tightly, biting the ear of this Nana. So there also he does some mischief. When he was put with other animals in the servants' quarters, we see that he didn't allow the rest of the animals, the goat, the squirrel, and we see that the tortoise, he created some sort of troublesome to those animals, isn't it? That's why when Grandpa went to Saharanpur, he thought of taking this Toto along with him in a black canvas bag, isn't it? So here also same thing happens here. Okay, so the narrator says that never ever a minute this Toto was quiet. Always he does something or other kind of mischief in the family. Okay, is it clear? Then coming to the next paragraph. One day at lunchtime, a large dish of pulao stood in the center of the dining table. We entered the room to find Toto stuffing himself with rice. My grandmother screamed and Toto threw a plate at her. One of my aunts rushed forward and received a glass of water in the face. When grandfather arrived, Toto picked up the dish of pulao and made his exit through a window. We found him in the branches of the jackfruit tree, the dish still in his arms. He remained there all afternoon, eating slowly through the rice, determined on finishing every grain. Then went, in order to spite grandmother, who had screamed at him, he threw the dish down from the tree and chattered with delight when it broke into 100 pieces. So what happened here? So one incident has been said here. One thing that cannot be tolerated by the family. What is that? Apart from tearing things, apart from destroying other things in the house, what he did? One day, everyone was getting ready to have the lunch. You know that when the lunch was served, everyone will gather in the dining table to eat together. Same thing happens here also, isn't it? So here, grandma prepared a very, delicious and yummy pulao. And pulao is what? It's rice, seasoned rice. Okay, just like, tomato biryani or tomato rice or something like that. We call it pulao. So here, pulao is made. And what happened? It was served in a big dish at the dining table. It was kept in the dining table. So when it was lunchtime for everyone to come, you know that everyone will be seated together around the dining table. When they came, what was the sight they have seen there is? What is that? It says that we entered the room to find Toto stuffing himself with what? Rice. What is that stuffing himself? Putting all over his body, or he was in the middle of this pulao. Actually, it was served for all the family members. Now, who just made up a mess here? Toto, isn't it? He was in the middle of this and he filled the pulao. He was seen, filled everywhere, all over the place. He was carrying with he was just taking this pulao with his hands, and he was eating it. This Toto was eating the pulao. He was just slowly and steadily eating this pulao, and that was something that hurts the family members, isn't it? They found Toto eating it, and when they saw that Toto was sitting near to the pulao and eating this one, what happened? What was the response of the grandma? Grandma screamed at Toto. What is it screamed at? She shouted at Toto, and in response, what was the response made by this Toto? Immediately, when this grandma was shouting at, or she was just screaming at this Toto, in response, Toto threw a plate at her. Well, now you know that plates was also arranged for everyone. He took one plate and he thrown towards whom? Towards grandma. And by the time who came there? Okay, by the time one of the aunt and the family came there, she was trying to save grandma, and she was trying to drive this monkey away from that dining table. By the time Toto became so furious, he took a glass of water and he threw a glass of water to whose face? To aunt's face. See the mischief that this monkey was doing here. He spoiled the food of the family members. Apart from that, when grandma was shouting at him, he threw a plate at grandma. When one of the aunt came there to chase him away from the dining table, or to save this grandma from this Toto, become so furious, he took a glass of water and he thrown this glass of water to aunt's face, isn't it? And by the time finally who came there? Finally our grandpa came there, isn't it? Grandpa is the one who brought this Toto here, isn't it? So finally he came there. When grandfather arrived, Toto left the place. How? By taking this dish in his hand, he escaped through the window. Exit means what? Exit means he left the place. Okay? He just left the place having this dish, pulao, in his hand. He escaped through the window. Okay? Then what he did? He escaped through the window, and where he was seated, he immediately climbed on one of the branches of the jackfruit tree. Okay, there was one jackfruit tree. So immediately after taking this pulao, he climbed onto this jackfruit tree, on the top of jackfruit tree, and he was seated there. Not only for some time, he remained there all afternoon. What is that? He sat on a branch of a jackfruit tree, determined to eat all the rice. Slowly and steadily he started picking pulao, eating this dish one by one, after one grain after the other grain, taking this and finished this one. Okay, so by the time who came there? Grandma, isn't it? Grandma, you know that grandma will be so angry towards this monkey because she might have took some time for preparing this delicious food for the rest of the family members. And then in order to spite grandma, what is that? Spite means in order to hurt grandma. Okay, there's already we have seen that while he was given a bath, if anyone laughs at him, he will what? He will not take bath. Now who shouted at him? Grandma shouted at Toto. So Toto was waiting for a chance to hurt whom? To hurt or to offend grandma. So in order to spite, in order to hurt grandma, what he did? Now he has with him this dish or empty plate. He thrown this empty plate from the jackfruit tree, from the branch of the jackfruit tree to grandma in order to hurt her. Okay? He had thrown the empty dish to grandma, who screamed at him. And he was so happy to see that when the dish or when the plate had fallen down, it was just broken into 100 pieces. So it says that the dish from the tree, the chattered with delight. Who chattered? Chattered means the sound made by monkey. You know that whenever monkey is making noise or sound, we see that the chattering of the monkey. Okay, the talking of the monkey is said to be like the chattering of the monkey. Okay, so he was just making some sort of sound. Okay, it's just like it was just teasing grandma or playing tricks with grandma, making some sort of sound. You know it, how these monkeys are making noise. So after throwing this, he started chattering, making some sort of noise at whom? At grandma, because she is the one who scolded, who shouted at what? At Toto, isn't it? So these are some of the mischievous things done by this Toto. Whenever one of the aunt came near Toto, he managed to tear at least some piece of the cloak, or at least to make one hole in their dress. And one day, when they just prepared all the food in the dining table, everyone saw that when they came here for having their lunch, they saw that monkey was seated and he started stuffing his belly, his stomach with his pulao. When granny screamed at him, he threw a plate at her, and when one of the aunt came near to monkey, he thrown a glass of water, isn't it? And now at this moment when grandpa came, he escaped this with the dish in his hand to one of the jackfruit tree. And after completing that, when grandma came near the tree, he threw this plate and it was broken into 100 pieces, isn't it? So anyhow, we see that all these days this monkey was creating a lot of disturbance to the family members. And finally we see that here comes the realization to grandpa. Obviously Toto was not the sort of pet we could keep for long. Even grandfather realized that we were not well-to-do. We could not afford the frequent loss of dishes, clothes, curtains and wallpaper. So grandfather found the Tonga driver and sold him back to him only for 3 rupees. So what happened? Now finally we see that grandpa realized that Toto was not suitable for keeping as a pet. From these incidents, we see that it was evident that the family of our narrator was not financially in good situation. So every now and then, whenever this Toto just happens to be here, he is creating some sort of disturbance and he destroys something, isn't it? He creates a lot of mess. He is just, because of him, there happened a lot of loss in their life, isn't it? They started, this monkey started tearing the curtains, even the clothes, even breaking the dishes, plates, isn't it? And throwing glass, utensils, everything. A lot of disturbance to the family. And now grandfather says that we can't afford the loss. It seems that they are middle class family, isn't it? They don't have enough money to buy new things. You know how it feels like when something in the house gets spoiled or damaged. Definitely your mothers or parents will scold you if you throw something out and just break it off. It costs money, isn't it? And maybe you know that they don't have enough money sometimes to buy new things because of this monkey. So that's why obviously means finally Toto was not the sort of pet we could keep for long. Grandpa realized that Toto was not suitable pet to be kept in a family or in his zoo. We already have seen that he is having a private zoo. He was not having any problem with any other members in the zoo. Who are the members? There was a squirrel, a tortoise, then a donkey, then a goat, then we see that there is one, finally there is one monkey also, isn't it? So all these things they started creating, they are just living together in a friendly manner, isn't it? Wherever this Toto was put, we see that Toto was giving some sort of disturbance to the rest of the animals, isn't it? A rabbit was also there, and this goat, this rabbit, this squirrel and this tortoise, they were living together in a friendly manner. And when Toto was put in the home or the stable of Nana, he created problem there, and even he doesn't allow the goat to sleep quietly, isn't it? Anyhow, finally grandpa realized that Toto was not suitable for keeping as a pet, and the family find it hard to get things destroyed by Toto. And by the time It has created great loss in the family, but spoiling, damaging the curtain, the wallpaper, dishes, clothes, etc. And now what happened? This finally, our grandpa took a decision regarding Toto. What may be the decision? It was given that he thought of finding the person from whom he bought this Toto. Who was the person? It was a Tonga driver. So finally, this grandpa went in search of this Tonga driver, and when he saw him, he said that I wanted to sell you back. And for how much rupees he just sold this monkey back to the Tonga driver? He returned to the Tonga driver for rupees 3. For how much rupees he bought this Toto from the Tonga driver? For 5 rupees. Now he managed to somehow he want to get rid of this Toto from his life. So he gave Toto for rupees 3. And finally, and at last we see that grandpa was giving a big sigh of relief. Grandpa was this relieved from the troublesome monkey named Toto. Okay, actually, maybe the narrator says that it was a great adventure done by Toto by spoiling and damaging all the things in the family. First of all, they tried to hide it from grandma. When grandma green signal, he was given a new house, a stable. But still then, he was not satisfied. He continued doing one or another way of mischiefs, isn't it? So finally, fed up with this monkey, grandpa realized that we can't afford this monkey because it's creating a great loss in our family, financial loss in our family. He thought of just handing over back to the Tonga driver, and Tonga driver bought him back for rupees 3, giving a loss of rupees 2 to grandpa because he bought this Toto for rupees 5, isn't it? So that is the story of Adventure of Toto by Ruskin Bond. Okay, I hope you understood the lesson. If you have any doubts, you can just ask me. Okay, students, have a great day. God bless you all. Thank you.